As the 20th century progressed, the portrayals of African Americans in advertising changed. However, Professor Lou Turner says it wasn't necessarily for the best.
The the portrayals are mixed. The history of the portrayal of black people in advertising, if we just limit it to the 20th century, has evolved from portraying African Americans as buffoons to seekers of instant gratification in one form or another, through eating or through sex, or as people who are undisciplined in their the behavior of their everyday lives, to being the image of cool that others either are afraid of because they find being cool inscrutable, not being able to know what it means, or that they want to emulate because they want to be that, to being the Huxtables, being middle class and non-threatening, to being the quote-unquote exceptional black person, kind of the Superman black person, or the exceptional black person.
Lou Turner believes that this representation of African Americans in the media led to a particular way that we view African Americans in our real-life discourse.
What I've called a kind of neo-minstrelsy that has emerged. And the neo-minstrelsy harkens back to the time of minstrels, the 19th century, through most of the 19th century, and in part of the 20th century. And the history of minstrelsy is of white men putting on blackface, and then later on, black men putting on exaggerated makeup to be minstrels, and then both of them coexisting at different times, like the Al Jolson thing, which, the silent movies and putting on the blackface certainly existed even at the time when people like Burt Williams, who was a famous black dancer and minstrel, and Bojangles, that kind of thing. And so when we say minstrel, it isn't simply blacks acting in a caricatured, exaggerated way, but also whites acting in that way. That is how they imagine black people to be and acting. And that's the origin of it. That is, it wasn't blacks, it was whites imagining and caricaturing what they thought black people were acting like.
According to Jason Chambers, a professor of advertising at the University of Illinois, the depictions of African Americans in advertising did not improve until around 1968, with the development of the first multicultural advertising agencies.
Well, a multicultural advertising agency, beyond obviously how we would define that for the person in terms of the makeup of the persons themselves, a multicultural advertising agency is an agency that is designed to reach a particular population, usually a population based upon race and or ethnicity. So the three areas where we largely see that would be with African American focused agencies, Asian American focused agencies, and or Hispanic American focused agencies. And they're designed to develop culturally relevant or specific communications, consumer communications, to those populations. So for example, Burrell Advertising in Chicago is largely designed to reach the African American consumer population. We have what I called in my book golden age of African Americans in the advertising industry business. There was attention from the federal government on this issue, state and local governments on this issue, and so as an industry, the door was kind of opened to, in particular, African Americans to craft and create agencies that largely were designed to focus on the African American consumer market. But in terms of race, it really took the pressure that was generated in that 1960s period to bring a lot of that to bear, as well as that recognition as we got into the 1960s of that growing size, growing power, economic power of the African American consumer population. So people recognized One, we're getting pressure to do this, but two, there's a lot of money involved if we do this well also. Well, one of the things that we saw first and foremost would be an increase, just a general increase in the number of African Americans in advertisements. And so you'd be able to turn on your TV and just see an advertisement featuring an African American woman for Bold detergent, right? Those kinds of things. So you began to see just a general increase in number. And then as well as we get African American focused agencies, in particular Burrell out of Chicago, Burrell Advertising out of Chicago, when Tom Burrell comes along in particular, and his partner for a time, Emmett McBain, when they come along in 1971, after some time in other advertising agencies, and they found Burrell McBain in 71 in Chicago. One of the things that comes out of that is Tom Burrell crafts a philosophy that comes to be known as positive realism. And all that simply means, and all he simply meant by that was utilizing positive images of African Americans in advertisements in realistic ways. And what he defined as realistic was just as the basic way, the way that they use their products. So show African Americans brushing their teeth, eating a Big Mac, drinking a Coke, show them enjoying the products in positive ways. And that positivity extends to showing black males with their families, showing images of strong males, showing images of African American families at all, and showing, so you have these positive representations coming out of African Americans in particular, coming out of Burrell, coming out of agencies like Uniworld, Procter & Gardner, and some others. So as you get this growing cadre of African Americans in the industry and as agency owners, then you see a corresponding